Let's go back to this cocaine situation. I believe we have a couple of audio clips that are illustrative of the way this is being covered. Let's play cut one first. Here's our good friend Karine Jean-Pierre, the historic White House press secretary, dodging questions about cocaine that was found at the White House.
So what's preventing a visitor from bringing in anthrax or something that's not magnetic into the White House?
No, look, Leisha, I totally understand the question, but it is under investigation.
Does the White House support the prosecution of this individual?
I'm just not going to get into hypotheticals from here.
Would the president be satisfied with, sir, this is a busy room and we found some cocaine. We don't know who brought it.
So let's see what the Secret Service says, right?
How determined is the president to get to the bottom of who brought illegal drugs into the White House?
The president thinks it is incredibly important to get to the bottom of this.
Okay. Do you think, let's start here, Buck, because everybody's tying this to Hunter Biden. What odds would you give this being Hunter Biden's cocaine?
I mean, less than 10%, I'd 5% maybe, something like that.
Okay.
I'd give someone huge betting odds this is not Hunter Biden's, because it could jeopardize his plea agreement. So think about that for a moment here, given all the sweetheart situation that's gone on with Hunter and the taxes. So yeah, I think it's almost certainly in my mind. Now, look, I get it. It's more fun for people to make Hunter Biden jokes here, and everyone's making the same Hunter Biden jokes, but I don't actually believe that this is his cocaine based on the situation. But can I also just, my reaction when I heard, just now, but also before, because they were circulating online, I heard people like, are you going to get to the bottom of this? I think this is journalists being able to seize on this moment where they're acting like this White House, this is undignified for the Biden White House. And they're trying to make it seem like this is so upsetting to them. Why is this surprising at all? You got a bunch of godless communists running around this White House. You got Joe Biden's son, a drug-addled mess. Like, yeah, one of their employees, I'm sure some left-wing pronoun in the bios lib was like, hey, before 4th of July weekend, I'm going to bring in my cocaine. You know what I mean? Like, but they don't want the public perception to be, yeah, of course, in the Biden White House this happens. They're all, are we going to get to the bottom of this right away? Sure, we'll see about that.
So it doesn't surprise me that a office filled with highly educated 20-somethings, many of whom are from positions of privilege, meaning their families, if you get into politics, are very often wealthy, that there would be cocaine in some sort of surrounding environment here. To me, if it were in some way connected to Hunter, this is a seismic story that I think would blow up in a way that things have not blown up to the extent they have not on the Biden family so far. I agree with you that it would be, to me, unlikely that they can prove that it's Hunter or that they wouldn't cover up if it were him. I don't understand why the White House is saying that they don't think they can figure out whose cocaine it is, because I do think that question is a good one. Could someone just walk in with anthrax to the White House and be able to go through security and manage to get it there? I also think, Buck, if it's such a privileged thing to even think to do, that's the only thing in my mind that makes me believe it might be someone of some sort of prominence, because I've been to the White House. You've been to the White House. The last thing I want to do is even remotely bring something that might be flagged as inappropriate to bring into the White House, right? I mean, in the same way that I wouldn't want to, like, I'll give you an example. I don't even want to go into like a pool party in Vegas with like Advil, because I don't want people to think, oh my God, this guy's trying to sneak in drugs. You're going through pretty significant security to try to get into this place in the first opportunity. So it feels to me like something that someone in a position of prominence would have attempted to do. You buy it?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of how we all have, at least I'm assuming everyone else does. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. TSA anxiety. Every time I go through TSA, I'm like, oh, did I leave, my collapsing knife or something, my folding knife in there? In a water bottle, that happens. No one really cares. But, I've got guns. I've got ammunition. I'm always like, did I bring the right backpack? Or did I, it's just, you have that little voice in the back of your head. I can imagine that's even stronger, especially if you're doing anything illegal in your personal life when you go into the White House.
You know what happened to me going through TSA the last time I came back? I was coming back from a 12-year-old Little League baseball tournament, right, Buck? I was in Cooperstown, New York. I drove down to New York City. I had my son and his 12-year-old friend with him. They got memorial Little League wooden bats in Cooperstown. I don't ever check bags. I didn't even think about it. These were not, like, in my mind, weapons. I tried to put it through TSA, and you would have thought that I was coming through with an AR-15. I mean, they were on us at LaGuardia Airport. They were like, oh, no. You cannot bring because I've seen people with, like, lacrosse sticks. I'm in Nashville, so people travel with guitars all the time. The idea that I was going to take over a plane with a 12-year-old wooden Little League baseball bat from Cooperstown, very low. They sent me back through. I had to, this is not a metal bat. This is like a small wooden bat. I had to check them. But to your point, Buck, I was like, oh my God, have I somehow violated a major rule of TSA? So the idea that you would go into a highly secured place with cocaine seems to me to be something that only someone of a very privileged background would even think to attempt.
And again, if I were president, Clay, and you were arrested for illegal possession of miniature bats going through TSA, I would pardon you.
Can you imagine if I got arrested for bringing Little League bats through LaGuardia Airport? I mean, I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into here? I even asked for the supervisor. I was like, I had to check the bats.
New York Post, the Batman. Clay Travis,
Am I going to get totally blown up over this like when I called Kerry Lake stud? How troubled are you by someone using cocaine? I'm probably going to get blown up over this. I care if you're doing it at work. I care if you're doing it in a way, and let me be clear, I've never used cocaine, right? I care if you do it at the White House. In the same way that if you were smoking weed, like, I really don't care if you're doing it in the privacy of your home. Is that a crazy perspective here?
Well, these are people that, it depends. It's a federal crime. It depends on, we don't know that. It depends on who we're talking. If it's a White House staffer.
At work is, on taxpayer dollars, inexcusable. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't want to set the tone of, if the Republicans won the White House, and then in 2024, there's somebody who gets popped with having cocaine in the, like, are you going to put them in federal prison for the rest of their lives? Like, I tend to be very much like live and let live on much of this stuff.
This is usually, if this were just in a normal situation, in most of these cities now, you get caught with cocaine, if you're a first-time offender, nothing's going to happen. When you're on federal property, as you know, things can get weird.
I think right now there is a 25 or 26-year-old that was setting up for a party weekend of July 4th that is now, right now, curled up in the fetal position, convinced that they're going to be in federal prison over the cocaine. Because I think they're going to be able to figure out whose it is.
Imagine you're sitting at a desk and you're opening up news story. It's the biggest news story in the country right now, everybody, which it doesn't really matter. I think it's a bigger news story because there's a lot of people who are like, it's Hunter, it's Hunter. There is no, I shouldn't say there's no reason to believe it's Hunter, but I think there's more reason to believe it's not Hunter than it is based on where it was found and the circumstances of it. So that's where I am on that.
I saw the videos of Hunter looking a little bit spaced out at the July 4th. Did you see the videos? Like,
yeah,
now
that he always looks spaced out. You know what drives me nuts? The people that are going to shout at me on this on Twitter, oh, you're an idiot. When it is some 25-year-old, they're not going to come back on Twitter and say, wow, Buck, you were right. Your analysis is so astute. I like how you tell everyone the truth. The people yelling at me, they never tell me when I'm right.